on complaining.
And honestly, the way he framed the whole Meghan and Harry situation made their once glamorous image look completely different. For years, they tried to present this huge modern fairy tale story. The prince, the actress, the royal escape, the interviews, the documentaries, all of it. But after Chris Rock got through with his routine, that polished image started looking way less magical and way more chaotic. Instead of some powerful love story, people online were comparing it to a celebrity reality show that spun out of control. He sliced through the royal headlines like it was nothing, then kept piling on joke after joke with that sharp delivery he's known for. And the wild part was that he sounded completely unbothered while doing it. That made the reactions even louder because people knew he was saying the kind of stuff a lot of others were too nervous to say publicly.
Oh my gosh, I worked so hard and
Trying to be a victim!
By the end of the set, the internet was on fire. Supporters rushed to defend Meghan, critics were celebrating every joke, and news outlets immediately started breaking down the entire segment line by line. One comedy routine suddenly turned into another massive chapter in the non-stop royal media circus. But honestly, none of this chaos came out of nowhere. Long before Chris Rock grabbed that microphone, cracks were already starting to show behind the shiny royal image. What once looked perfect from the outside slowly started turning into a public mess filled with tension, headlines, interviews, and non-stop drama waiting to explode. On stage during his Netflix special, Chris Rock went directly at the racism accusations tied to Meghan Markle. And the second he brought it up, the entire room got tense fast. People already knew he was about to say something risky, but nobody expected him to lean in that hard with so much confidence. He wasn't tiptoeing around the topic or trying to soften the blow either.
But seriously, it's gotta sell the mommy lifestyle. And it's gotta be all about me. But not seem like it's all about me. In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi.
Ooh.
But not too far.
Chris delivered the jokes with that calm, sharp style that makes the punchlines hit even harder, because he sounds completely serious right before the crowd explodes laughing. Then, he locked onto one of the biggest talking points from the Oprah interview, Meghan claiming she didn't really know much about the royal family before marrying Prince Harry. Chris reacted to that story like somebody just told him they'd never heard of the internet before. The look on his face alone had people laughing before he even got to the punchline. He dragged the moment out perfectly too, acting confused, almost impressed, like he was trying so hard to believe it. The audience could already tell he was setting something up. He smiled, nodded along, and played into the story for a second, like he fully bought it. That's what made the next part land so hard.
Lot going on in the news. My God, it's so crazy out there. What's going on with Meghan Markle? She thinks that everybody is just stupid. Like we can't see that she is manipulating his dumb husband.
Right when the crowd relaxed, he flipped the whole thing around with a brutal punchline that completely shredded the claim in seconds. The theater erupted instantly, and online clips of the joke started spreading everywhere almost immediately. What made the moment hit even harder was how casually he delivered it. Chris didn't yell or force the joke. He just let the silence hang there for a second, then dropped the line like he knew everybody in the room was already thinking the exact same thing.
I really feel sorry for the family. Maybe everybody's fixating her on how good-looking this guy.
That slow buildup made the reaction even crazier. But he still wasn't done. After tearing apart the "I didn't know the royals" story, Rock turned toward the biggest controversy surrounding Meghan and Harry, the claims about concerns over skin color inside the royal family. The second he moved into that topic, the room got quiet again, because people knew this was the part that could really shake things up. And somehow, with one sharp observation, Chris managed to turn the entire situation into another massive laugh.
Racist is so racist. Some of that he went through was not racism. It was just some in-law.
He questioned the story in a way that instantly got the crowd roaring, while also making the whole claim sound shaky and awkward at the same time. For a split second, there was stunned silence, then the audience completely lost it. By that point, the message was obvious. Chris Rock wasn't worried about backlash, angry headlines, or online outrage. He came into that special ready to swing at one of the biggest celebrity stories in the world, and he wasn't pulling back even a little bit. And after that performance, it felt like the floodgates opened. Suddenly, comedians everywhere started taking shots at Meghan and Harry. Late-night hosts, podcast comics, stand-up specials, social media creators. Everybody wanted in on the conversation. Each joke got louder, messier, and more brutal than the last, turning the royal drama into one giant comedy target that just kept growing. The American comedians had their own way of going after Meghan and Harry.
Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers? What the fuck is she talking about? She didn't know.
And unlike the polished royal reporters trying to stay careful with every sentence, stand-up comics came in loud, reckless, and completely unfiltered. Once the royal drama became comedy material, there was no slowing it down. Every comic wanted their shot, and the jokes kept getting more aggressive with every new special podcast clip and late-night appearance. Guys like Andrew Schultz didn't waste time trying to sound diplomatic either. He skipped the careful celebrity language and jumped straight into the harsh opinions a lot of Americans were already throwing around online. Schultz joked about the non-stop interviews, the public complaints, and the constant headlines surrounding the couple like he couldn't believe they were still talking about royal life years later. His style was blunt, fast, and savage, which made the clips spread everywhere on social media almost instantly. But while Schultz brushed the whole thing off with straight-up sarcasm, other comedians took a different angle. Nikki Glaser, for example, leaned harder into the idea that Meghan's story wasn't exactly the glamorous fairy tale people expected at the beginning.
Oprah, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people wanna know.
Instead of focusing only on the royal family drama, Glaser joked about ambition, celebrity culture, and the pressure that comes with chasing fame in the public eye. In her version of the story, Meghan looked less like a princess living a dream life, and more like someone who stepped into a situation expecting luxury, admiration, and non-stop attention. Only to realize royal life came with endless rules, pressure, criticism, and cameras watching every move. That contrast became the punchline, the image of someone expecting red carpets and freedom, but ending up buried in royal protocol gave comics endless material to play with. And Glaser didn't stop there either. She pushed the joke even further by imagining what Meghan's life could have looked like if she had never married Prince Harry at all. Instead of royal castles and worldwide headlines, the comedy version painted a chaotic celebrity lifestyle full of auditions, influencer deals, Hollywood networking, and desperate attempts to stay relevant in entertainment circles. The audience ate it up because the exaggeration made the whole thing sound ridiculous and believable at the same time.
Harry and Meghan, we don't give America don't give a about you. We don't care about the royal family. We never cared about nothing that had to do with y'all. 1775 was the last time we gave.
But the roasting didn't stay inside stand-up comedy clubs for long. It spread into animated satire, TV parodies, internet sketches, and basically every form of comedy that could turn royal drama into entertainment. One of the biggest examples was the animated series The Prince, which went all in, mocking Harry and Meghan's post-royal image and their business moves after leaving the monarchy behind. That show didn't hold back at all. Instead of treating them like serious public figures, it portrayed them as fame-hungry celebrities, constantly chasing money, media attention, and branding opportunities. Every episode pushed the joke harder, turning their interviews, projects, and public appearances into exaggerated comedy chaos. And honestly, the animated version of Meghan got hit especially hard. The show painted her as someone desperate to stay in the spotlight at all times, always chasing headlines, cameras, and celebrity status, no matter what was happening around her. The Satire exaggerated every public appearance and every media deal until it became a running joke about fame obsession and image control. but even the prince looked tame compared to Spitting Image. That puppet show went after Harry and Meghan with absolutely zero mercy. The sketches portrayed Harry as trapped in endless emotional interviews, where every conversation sounded like a therapy session mixed with celebrity PR coaching.
If she didn't marry him, she would be on The Bachelor this season, fighting for Prince. She would be Megan M. from Sherman Oaks barista. She's just got lucky. She got so lucky.
In the parody world, every answer became another dramatic speech about royal life, media pressure, or personal struggles, while reporters sat there pretending it was groundbreaking news. The British satire also painted Harry as completely disconnected from reality. A guy who walked away from royal duties, only to end up floating through expensive interviews, documentaries, and media deals without any clear direction. The jokes made him look lazy, frustrated, and stuck in a cycle of public complaining while the world kept rolling its eyes harder each time. By then, the royal drama had fully crossed over into comedy culture. It wasn't just one joke anymore, or one comedian trying to get attention.
It's important we do this ourselves, Harry, and not live off your family.
I agree. We'll just have to find a way to make £50 billion on our own.
Harry and Meghan had become one of the biggest celebrity satire targets in the world, with comics, cartoons, and parody shows, all taking swings from every possible angle. The show kept pushing the idea that Harry never truly let go of royal life, even while publicly saying he wanted distance from it. In the parody version, he came across like someone trying to escape the monarchy while still hanging on to every title, every headline, and every benefit connected to it. That contradiction became one of the biggest running jokes, and the writers leaned into it hard every chance they got. Then came the Netflix deal, which satire shows absolutely loved tearing apart. The jokes painted the massive contract as less of a creative partnership and more like a giant payday built entirely around royal family drama. In the comedy sketches, Harry and Meghan were shown turning private royal tensions into streaming content, interviews, documentaries, and endless media projects designed to keep public attention locked on them. The satire kept hammering the same criticism again and again.
My name is Meghan Sussex now. Call me Meghan Markle one more time, Mindy fucking Kaling.
That Harry claimed he wanted freedom from the royal machine, while still benefiting from the exact connection he said he was leaving behind. That became comedy fuel everywhere online because creators saw the contrast as impossible to ignore. Every new interview, documentary clip, or public appearance only gave comedians and internet creators more material to work with. But the mockery didn't stop with cartoons, TV parodies, or stand-up comics. Social media creators jumped in too, and once that happened, the internet basically turned the whole thing into non-stop meme content. TikTok creators, YouTubers, reaction channels, and podcast hosts all started picking apart Meghan's public image from every angle, especially after clips from her cooking and lifestyle content began circulating online. One moment in particular exploded everywhere.
Thank you, and goodbye, said Williams here. Yes.
All right, Prince William and Prince Harry, everybody. What is this?
During a conversation with Mindy Kaling, Meghan awkwardly corrected her for using her maiden name instead of her royal title. The exchange instantly caught people's attention because the moment felt stiff and overly serious, especially for what was supposed to be a light, casual conversation. Within hours, clips of it were spreading across social media with reaction videos, edits, and parody remixes flooding timelines everywhere. The internet treated that moment like comedy treasure. Creators replayed the clip over and over, adding dramatic music, fake reactions, exaggerated edits, and sarcastic commentary that turned a simple correction into a full-blown viral joke. Some people mocked the awkward delivery, while others joked about how carefully polished the entire interaction felt. And once creators locked onto that clip, they started going after Meghan's entire lifestyle image too. Her cooking and lifestyle content became a massive target for parody videos, especially from creators who felt the show focused more on aesthetics and branding than actual substance.
Michael, we like to apologize. Unfortunately, William's hair was unable to make it this evening. It's devastating.
Oh, bravo, hilarious, yes.
The criticism online was that everything looked overly staged, perfectly lit, and carefully curated, while ordinary moments were treated like life-changing discoveries. That became the main joke running through countless parody videos. Creators exaggerated the slow camera shots, dramatic presentations, and emotional storytelling around simple activities, making it seem like everyday tasks were being presented as groundbreaking luxury experiences. The internet absolutely ran with it because the format was easy to imitate and even easier to roast. Some of the parodies were so accurate that viewers could barely tell the difference between the joke version and the real clips at first glance. That's what made the mockery hit so hard online. The exaggeration felt close enough to reality that people instantly understood the punchline. And after that, creators stopped holding back completely. Every new clip, interview, appearance, or brand move quickly turned into fresh material for another wave of internet jokes, memes, and brutal commentary. Creators and comedians didn't just focus on the royal interviews or the Netflix deals either.
Welcome to season 2. It's the same as season 1. Some people says it feels staged. I feel like it's perfectly staged. For my guest, I'm thinking a super easy caramelized onion tart. It only takes 4.5 hours of really slow onion cutting.
They started digging into the more dramatic parts of Meghan's public story. And once that happened, absolutely nothing was off limits anymore. Online parodies, late-night jokes, and sketch shows kept revisiting stories about family tensions, public fallout, and emotional interviews, turning moments that were originally presented as serious into non-stop comedy material. One major topic creators kept circling back to was Meghan's difficult relationship with her father. Comedians exaggerated the family drama so much that it became almost impossible to escape online. Some sketches portrayed the situation like a soap opera with endless dramatic twists, while internet creators turned emotional headlines into sarcastic reenactments and reaction videos. The contrast between serious storytelling and exaggerated internet humor made the clips spread even faster. Then there were the stories surrounding Harry and Meghan, stepping away from royal life and leaving the UK. Satirical creators took those moments and blew them up into over-the-top scenes about escaping royal pressure, like it was some giant Hollywood action movie. Some parody videos showed dramatic fake trailers, emotional music, and exaggerated narration, turning personal decisions into full-on comedy skits that made audiences crack up online. At this point, Harry and Meghan had basically become permanent roast material in entertainment culture.
This is my jam. No, literally, I made jam. So sweet. Ricotta, ricotta. Everyone knows ricotta.
Their story had everything comedians love: family drama, celebrity fame, royal titles, interviews, public arguments, luxury lifestyles, media battles, and non-stop headlines. For comics, it was endless content. Every few months, another interview or public appearance would drop, and comedians immediately had fresh material ready to go. Late-night shows especially kept coming back to them over and over again. American comedy programs treated the royal drama like a goldmine because audiences never stopped reacting to it. Monologues, sketches, celebrity impressions, fake interviews, the jokes just kept coming year after year. One of the biggest examples was Saturday Night Live, which repeatedly mocked the relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry through recurring sketches. The show leaned hard into the idea that the brothers had become painfully awkward around each other, almost like two relatives forced to sit through an uncomfortable family dinner while secretly wanting to argue the entire time.
Hasn't gotten traction yet. No one's picked up my book proposal yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet.
The comedy version of Harry was usually portrayed as frustrated, defensive, and constantly reminding everyone he was treated like the spare. Meanwhile, the fake William character would respond with smug little jabs that made the tension even funnier. The sketches worked because they exaggerated the real-world headlines people had already been following for years. One moment that really stood out was when the parody version of Harry mocked William's hairline, something comedians have joked about for years. But instead of sitting there quietly, the fake William instantly fired back by dragging Meghan's acting career on Suits. The sketch made it clear that if Harry was going to throw personal shots, he should expect them right back. And honestly, that comeback hit hard in the sketch, because it completely flipped the energy of the scene. Suddenly, Harry wasn't controlling the joke anymore. He became the punchline instead. The audience reaction in the studio was huge because people love watching roast battles, where both sides keep escalating the insults. Then, SNL pushed it even further. The parody version of William joked that Suits was so boring, it could work as a sleep aid, which instantly turned the whole exchange into a full-on roast session aimed at both Harry and Meghan at the same time.
Meghan, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
And how's your family?
Good. Everyone's good.
Yeah.
Being a mom to Aerosol and Lululemon is one of the greatest pleasures.
The line landed because it mixed royal family drama with celebrity career jokes in one quick hit. The sketch absolutely nailed the image of two brothers who can barely survive a conversation without taking passive-aggressive shots at each other. Every interaction was written, like years of tension were bubbling under the surface, ready to explode over the smallest comment. One minute they'd pretend to be polite, and the next minute they'd be throwing sarcastic insults across the room, like teenagers arguing at a family gathering. That's what made the sketches so popular. SNL didn't portray them as elegant royals living in some untouchable world. The show made them look like dysfunctional siblings trapped in an endless public feud, constantly trying to embarrass each other while the entire world watched for entertainment. All right, Prince William and Prince Harry, everybody. The second those names came up in comedy sketches and late-night routines, audiences already knew chaos was about to follow.
Every day for 10 years. For 10 years, I was bullied and attacked. Every day, I was the most trolled person on the internet, man or woman. No one was more trolled than I was. And I'm still here, you know. I get up in the morning and I put on my $26,000 watch and somehow I make it through.
At that point, the royal drama had become one of the biggest comedy targets anywhere online or on TV. Every joke landed because people were already familiar with the tension, the interviews, the documentaries, and the non-stop headlines surrounding the brothers. But then things escalated into a completely different level of mockery. The comedians had already taken their shots. The late-night hosts had milked the drama for years. Social media creators were flooding timelines with memes and parody clips non-stop. Then the cartoon world stepped in and turned the whole thing into animated destruction. And when it comes to savage animated satire, almost nobody goes harder than South Park. The show dropped an entire episode centered around Harry and Meghan called the Worldwide Privacy Tour. And the second it aired, the internet exploded with reactions. People were posting clips everywhere because the episode wasted absolutely no time jumping straight into the biggest criticism aimed at the couple, publicly asking for privacy while constantly staying in front of cameras, interviews, books, documentaries, and media headlines. South Park exaggerated that contradiction in the most ridiculous way possible.
I know when I ran away from the orphanage and was homeless, I was being doxxed and threatened online. No, well, mine was much worse. And you should probably wait your turn to speak because I'm speaking right now. It's about me at this moment. So we'll get to you in a moment.
In the episode, the royal couple traveled around making loud public appearances while demanding privacy at the exact same time. The joke kept repeating over and over, with giant signs, public speeches, media tours, and dramatic attention-grabbing moments, all happening while they claimed they just wanted to be left alone. The more they insisted on privacy, the louder and more chaotic everything became. The humor worked because the show pushed the contradiction so far that it became impossible not to laugh at the absurdity of it. South Park has always been known for taking public controversies and stretching them to insane extremes, and this episode was no different. They turned the royal image into one giant walking punchline. But Meghan wasn't the only target in the episode. The show went directly at Harry too, especially when it came to his memoir and public interviews. The parody painted him as someone born into unbelievable privilege who still spent most of his time talking about how difficult his life had been. South Park exaggerated that idea constantly, turning Harry's emotional storytelling into a running gag throughout the episode.
If you're a busy mom like me, I have a simple, no-fuss way to make your kids' school lunch every morning. Let me show you how I made this.
Every time the cartoon version of Harry appeared, he seemed frustrated, upset, or emotionally exhausted, while dragging around a long list of complaints and personal grievances. The show leaned hard into the image of him constantly trying to explain himself to the world, while nobody around him really knew how to react anymore. Meanwhile, Meghan's animated character was portrayed as highly image-focused, ambitious, and obsessed with public attention. The satire painted her as the driving force behind the media appearances, branding, interviews, and publicity moments, while Harry followed behind trying to support the narrative. Together, the two characters became this chaotic celebrity duo, constantly demanding sympathy while staying directly in the spotlight. And then came the moment people online wouldn't stop talking about. Near the end of the episode, South Park delivered one final joke that many viewers saw as the knockout punch. Meghan's cartoon character casually dropped a line that suddenly exposed the massive contradiction the entire episode had been building toward all along. In one quick moment, the show basically tore apart the polished, "we just want a quiet, normal life" image by showing how much attention and publicity surrounded everything they did. That final scene instantly blew up online because viewers felt like South Park had summed up years of criticism in one brutal joke. The episode didn't just mock celebrity culture or royal drama. It turned the entire public image surrounding Harry and Meghan into one giant satire about fame, attention, branding, and contradictions. And because it was South Park, the punches came fast, loud, and completely without mercy. And that so-called normal life Harry and Meghan keep talking about? Family Guy jumped in next and completely shredded that image too. At this point, it almost feels like the animated world has its own non-stop royal drama league, with South Park and Family Guy taking turns roasting every contradiction tied to the couple's public image. What made it even crazier was how Family Guy used Harry's own public comments as part of the joke. The episode twisted his words into comedy so smoothly that it felt like even the cartoon version of Harry couldn't stop reminding people why the internet keeps clowning the whole situation. Every little detail became another punchline, and honestly, the mockery just keeps feeding itself over and over again. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the non-stop royal comedy chaos.
Suits actress Meghan Markle married some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
The former prince and current river corpse has been arrested and now may be banned from ever taking the throne. In fact, the royal family said the only way he can become king is if it comes down to either him or Meghan.
SNL just came swinging at Meghan Markle again, and this time it wasn't just a light jab. It felt like a full-on takedown. No soft jokes, no holding back, just straight-up savage energy all across the sketch. Now yeah, SNL roasts everybody. That's their whole thing. Nobody is off limits.
That the organizers of King Charles's coronation have officially invited Meghan Markle, and this is nice, at a starting salary of $19 an hour.
But something about the way they keep circling back to Meghan and Harry feels different. Like there's extra spice in it. It's not just random comedy anymore. It feels way more pointed, like they know exactly what buttons to push and they're pressing all of them. And it didn't stop there. Emma Stone even jumped into the mix, showing up as one of Harry's exes in the sketch. She didn't play it safe either. She went right at Meghan, mocking her by acting like she's just riding the royal wave.
Look who it is. It's one of my ex-girlfriends. Excellent. Miss Tinsley Granger-Gash.
Yeah.
Hi, Tins. You want to say something to my future child?
Hello, little baby. Hello, little tiny babe.
At one point, she basically painted Meghan as someone living large off palace money, throwing out that freeloader label like it was nothing. That kind of joke lands hard, especially coming from someone stepping into that role so confidently. And that's where it starts to hit different, because the whole narrative around Meghan keeps coming back into play every single time.
She has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits, which will be set in Los Angeles. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
People keep bringing up how she entered the spotlight through the royal family, and then later built a whole new lane by speaking out about it. But at the same time, there's this image she puts out, like she was already deeply connected in Hollywood before all of that happened. That contrast is what keeps people talking. On one side, you've got the royal connection that changed everything. And on the other side, this idea of being fully established before it all.
It's your boy, Prince Harry, aka the Ginger of Windsor, aka Redhead Redemption 2. I am making this video for you, my future child, to watch when you're older.
SNL clearly sees that gap, and they're turning it into comedy gold every chance they get. People keep saying this woman always needs to be the center of attention. Like, it's not even optional for her. It's constant, non-stop energy. The way it's described, it's almost like attention is fuel, something she runs on every single day. The idea people push is that she wakes up already thinking about how to stay in the spotlight.
Splendid, I'm so busy and happy. I'm glad we didn't make it, Harry.
How to keep the conversation locked on her name. And then when people react, whether it's praise or criticism, it turns into another cycle where she responds to that attention all over again. That pattern has become a huge part of how people talk about her online, and it's wild because some see it as exhausting, while others can't look away. It's like this mix of drama and entertainment that keeps pulling people back in, whether they like it or not, and SNL clearly tapped into that vibe. They're not guessing anymore. They're leaning all the way in, making it obvious they think they've figured out the whole image she presents.
Elon built electric cars. He's going to Mars. Why is he even involving himself with Twitter? It would be like if the Prince of England gave it all up just to marry an actor from Suits.
Then there's the conversation about her acting career, which always seems to come up in these debates. She was on Suits, a solid show with a loyal audience, especially later when it found a bigger wave of viewers through streaming. But critics are quick to point out she wasn't seen as one of the biggest names in the industry at the time. Not on the level of legends like Meryl Streep or Viola Davis, who built decades-long reputations with major awards and iconic roles. Instead, the way people describe it, she was working steadily, doing her job, building her career step by step like many actors do. Then everything shifted when she married into the royal family, and suddenly her level of global recognition changed overnight.
I'm like, she don't know nothing. Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google this? It's the royal family!
That jump is what keeps fueling the conversation, especially when people feel like the image now doesn't fully match where things started. And when it comes to comedy, it hasn't just been one show taking shots. Big names across the scene, from Colin Jost to Chris Rock, have all thrown in their takes. It's almost like she became a recurring topic, something comedians keep coming back to because the audience instantly gets the reference. Even SNL leaned into that perception hard, framing her less like a formal public figure and more like that one person everyone knows, the one who leaves the group chat in a dramatic way, then keeps sending long messages explaining why. It really comes off like someone saying they're done with drama while still blasting their voice through a megaphone. That's the vibe people keep pointing out again and again, and it's hard to ignore once you see it. You hear the complaints. The attention is too much. The cameras won't stop. Privacy is all I want. And those words sound serious on the surface. But then, right alongside that, there's a constant stream of interviews, podcasts, and high-profile appearances dropping back to back. There are documentaries being released, major platform deals being announced, and even lifestyle products tied directly to her name hitting the spotlight. That contrast is exactly what people keep questioning, because it feels like two completely different messages happening at the same time. From the outside looking in, critics say it doesn't line up. You can't push for total privacy while also stepping into projects that are built around sharing your personal story with millions of viewers. That tension is what comedians have locked onto, and SNL didn't hold back at all. They leaned straight into that victim narrative angle and turned it into a punchline, making it clear they think audiences already recognize the pattern. And that pattern is what keeps getting repeated in conversations everywhere. First, there's a move that grabs attention in a big way. Then people react, debate it, break it down across social media and headlines. After that, the focus shifts to how overwhelming that attention feels, which sparks even more discussion. And before it fades, the whole cycle starts right back up again. Comedians have been circling this dynamic for years now.
He asked the CEO of Disney to hook his wife up with voiceovers. And I mean, don't get me wrong, on the one hand, husband goals. On the other hand, you gotta admit the monarchy has fallen off, right?
It's become one of those topics that keeps the crowd engaged because everyone instantly understands the reference. And when Chris Rock stepped in, he didn't dance around it either. He addressed it directly, saying out loud what a lot of people had already been thinking but hadn't put so bluntly. Chris Rock also weighed in on that whole conversation about the baby's skin tone, and he didn't tiptoe around it at all. He framed it more like a family being curious, the kind of questions that can come up when people are blending different backgrounds. His take came off blunt, maybe even controversial, but that's exactly why it grabbed so much attention and got people debating from every angle. Then Jimmy Kimmel jumped into the mix too, and he's been throwing jokes their way for a long time now. This time, he went straight at the bigger narrative, pointing out the move to the United States and how complicated the country's own history with race has been. He brought up the fact that America has its own deep and ongoing struggles, which made the whole situation seem confusing to him. That angle added even more fuel to the conversation because it raised questions people were already arguing about online. The way critics describe it, the storyline just doesn't fully add up in their eyes. They see a shift from one environment to another, both with very real challenges, and they question how it all fits together. And in the middle of that, there's this ongoing perception that the narrative keeps circling back to being misunderstood or mistreated, which keeps the spotlight locked in place. From a comedy perspective, that's exactly the kind of material performers lock onto. They look at the public image, the decisions, the interviews, and they build their jokes around what they see as contradictions or patterns. That doesn't mean everyone agrees with the framing, but it does explain why the topic keeps coming back on stage and on shows. What stands out most is how differently people interpret the same story. Some see strategy, some see sincerity, and others just see a cycle that keeps repeating in public view. That's the core of the criticism right there. Some people look at the whole situation and boil it down to ambition, status, and access. They believe she stepped into royalty for the title, the wealth, and the privileges that come with it, but didn't want to fully take on the expectations tied to that role. That's the angle critics keep pushing, and it's been repeated so many times that it's basically become its own storyline. And then there's Harry, who always gets pulled into the conversation right alongside her. The narrative around him is that he walked away from everything familiar, his family, his country, his long-established role, and completely reset his life. Supporters say that was a personal choice for independence, while critics frame it as a decision. driven by influence and emotion. Either way, people keep focusing on how drastically his life changed, especially now that he's part of a very different kind of public image and business world. That image gets amplified every time a new project drops. From media appearances to product launches, everything gets picked apart and turned into commentary. When lifestyle products or branded ventures come out, critics are quick to mock them, saying it feels disconnected from the serious tone of earlier interviews. That contrast becomes easy material for jokes, and comedians waste no time jumping on it. Then came Joe Coy at the Golden Globes, and he didn't hesitate either. With Harry and Meghan sitting right there in the audience, he leaned into the moment and delivered a joke that instantly got attention. He poked fun at the idea of royal connections and money, tying it back to their public story in a way that had people reacting immediately. And that ties into a bigger point comedians keep circling. The shift from royal life to media deals, especially that massive Netflix agreement, has been one of the biggest talking points. Huge numbers get thrown around.
Body language between William and Catherine, who just know how to perform as a duo, and Harry and Meghan, where there is always some sort of awkward, uncomfortable tension between the two of them, which I think you could definitely see there. You see how Meghan is so determined to have her shoulder in front of Harry's.
Expectations go sky high, and then every project gets judged under a microscope. When something doesn't land the way people expect, it becomes instant comedy material. Trevor Noah even added his own smooth take on it. He highlighted how unusual it looks to turn personal struggles and public disputes into full-scale content deals. His delivery was calm, but the message hit hard. Because to a lot of viewers, the idea of monetizing those experiences feels both fascinating and confusing at the same time. Trevor Noah's perspective on Harry and Meghan actually shifted over time, and that evolution caught a lot of attention. Early on, he showed support, especially when it came to conversations about media treatment and the pressure surrounding their situation. He spoke on those issues seriously, backing the idea that there were real challenges involved. But then things started to look different as more public moments unfolded. One moment that really stood out was when Harry was seen trying to line up a voiceover opportunity with Disney. That clip spread everywhere, and it changed how a lot of people, including Trevor, viewed the situation. Because suddenly, the narrative didn't feel the same anymore. The question became obvious. If the goal was stepping away for a quieter, more private life, then why move straight into high-profile entertainment deals? That's where Trevor started shifting his tone. He began pointing out what looked like a major pivot, from royal responsibilities to building a career in celebrity media. And to critics, that didn't come off as privacy. It looked more like a rebrand, a complete transition from one kind of spotlight to another, just packaged differently. Then Stephen Colbert stepped in, and he took a completely different angle. He went straight for the branding. When he joked about the H&M nickname, the reaction was instant. He compared it to the clothing store, and that comparison stuck because it was so simple and so sharp. It turned something meant to sound polished into something people laughed at right away. And that's really what comedians keep circling back to. The mixed messaging. One minute it's about being relatable, the next it's about royalty. Then it shifts to being misunderstood, and then suddenly it's about building a business empire. That constant switching is what creates the awkwardness comedians latch onto. It feels like multiple identities all being presented at once, without fully committing to any single one. That trying everything at once energy is what keeps turning into punchlines. And it doesn't stop either. Even smaller moments, like lifestyle content or product choices, end up getting spotlighted and joked about. Jimmy Fallon even jumped in on that wave, taking a light jab at one of those moments, showing how even the smallest details can turn into full comedy bits when the spotlight is already that intense. Jimmy Fallon took one look at Meghan's lifestyle content and zoomed in on a moment that had people talking for all kinds of reasons. It was meant to feel relatable, simple, down to earth, but the way it came across to critics felt completely different. The scene, taking regular, store-bought pretzels and pouring them into a fancy glass jar like it was some groundbreaking idea. That was the whole bit. And Fallon didn't let that slide. He turned it into a joke instantly, because to a lot of viewers, it felt like trying way too hard to dress up something basic. That's the disconnect people keep pointing out. If the goal is to seem relatable, then critics say it has to feel real, not staged or overly polished. Just showing everyday life would land better than presenting small, ordinary things like they're revolutionary. That pretzel moment became symbolic of a bigger issue people keep circling. This gap between the image being presented and how it's actually received. Then John Oliver came in with a totally different lens, bringing that sharp British humor into the mix. He looked at the entire situation and flipped it into a joke about the royal family itself. He painted this picture of Prince Andrew sitting back, watching everything unfold, quietly relieved that the spotlight had shifted away from him. The way Oliver framed it made the whole situation feel like a rotating spotlight of attention within the royal circle, where one headline replaces another. And of course, Ricky Gervais didn't hold back either. He went straight at the idea of privilege and perception. His argument, wrapped in comedy, was blunt. If you come from a life of status and advantage, then own it. Don't try to position yourself as struggling in the same way as people who faced real hardship. That contrast, according to him, is where the humor and the criticism really hits. Especially when titles and status still get used when they're convenient for branding or public image. That contradiction is exactly what comedians keep turning into material. It's sharp, it's easy for audiences to recognize, and it sparks instant reactions. And then you've got voices like Tim Dillon, who don't even try to ease into it. He delivers his takes in a much more direct, no-filter style, making it clear he finds the whole situation frustrating and hard to connect with. No metaphors, no poetry, just straight vibes. That's the energy some comedians bring when they talk about elite celebrity culture. It's direct, it's sharp, and it calls things out without dressing them up. And somehow, Meghan has ended up right in the middle of that conversation, representing what critics see as overly polished, heavily branded, carefully curated public image energy. That's why her name keeps coming up again and again. It fits into a bigger picture they're already talking about. And here's the part that keeps coming back in every joke. When someone positions themselves as a global figure, the spotlight doesn't come with protection. It comes with more attention from every angle. That includes praise, criticism, and a whole lot of comedy. The bigger the platform, the bigger the reaction. That's the trade-off people keep pointing out.